Please take a roll call. Councilwoman Bastide?
Here.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Here.
Councilman Papaleo?
Here.
Councilwoman Davis?
Here.
Councilwoman Murphy? Councilman Aquafrida? Mayor McDonald? Good, thank you. We have taken a roll call. We have in front of you a copy of the log, so you can flip over the first page and come down on the second page. It's also up on the screen here. And I'll just point out to you some of the things that we've done since we last met. We have all these capital improvement fund changes, which we went through and you made decisions on. So these have all been placed into the budget from our February 6th meeting. And then since that time, we've had some changes in the budget. These are all allocations of the insurance. And what we do with the insurance is we spread it out into different categories. We spread out the insurance, we break out the workers' compensation insurance, and then we break out portions for the library for workers' comp. We also break out portions for their liability insurance. By segregating the library insurance amounts, we're able to place those budgets outside of the appropriation cap. Please let the record reflect that Mayor McMillan is now here. So these changes...
I got a message from Vito that he's coming at 6:30.
So these changes have been made, but it really has no effect on the budget. You can see most of these are in and out, in and out, in and out. One change where there has been a slight increase is item number 84, the reserve for uncollected taxes. We call it the RUT. This is the amount that we are mandated to put into the budget to ensure that we have a full collection of taxes, since we do have some delinquent taxpayers every year. I've increased the school and county amounts 2% over last year until I get a better estimate from the schools. And that has changed the reserve for uncollected tax amount by $10,546. It's increased it slightly. We completed the annual financial statement on February 10th, and the amount of delinquent taxes that I had in the budget as a revenue, $250,000. I'm recommending now that this come down to $200,000. It actually has a ceiling amount as stipulated by the state of about $230,000. I'm not recommending that you increase it any more than that. If you do, you can go up to that ceiling amount, frankly, there won't be any excess coming from the delinquent taxes. I would predict there would not be, little if any excess on delinquent taxes as a revenue source. By keeping it this low, you are going to generate a little revenue coming back to a surplus. Hopefully, you won't be in a deficit position. Then we had an additional library employee who had said, well, not taking health benefits, but then came back and said, oh, I want to select the waiver. So they can get up to $5,000 in lieu of taking health benefits. So that's going to increase it from $5,000 to $10,000 for 2 library employees. We also have 4 non-library employees who have elected the waiver. So that's another budget of $20,000, but you won't see it here. This is an increase of $5,000. It's not in the numbers that we're looking at tonight. I would need your approval to put that in there. The mayor has asked to look at the possibility, have the mayor and council look at the possibility of hiring a consultant to study the format, the structure of what goes on in the clerk's office in terms of agendas and resolutions and ordinances, things of that nature. I'll let the mayor certainly can speak to that. And this, I would add $2,000 to the clerk's budget for this purpose. And then John Lynch has requested an increase in the vehicle maintenance line, $5,500 for repairs to vehicles from the snowstorm. And there's a memorandum in your red book under correspondence that goes to that. Looking at the changes, coming down now, just so you have an idea as to the percentages and types of increases. Overall, we're looking at a $414,000 increase, 2.75% overall. Salaries are up $261,000, a little over 4%. And the other expenses, about $142,000, 1.68%. Please understand that the 4% includes either 2% or less than 2% increases on the base salary, but there are other roll-ups. There's overtime costs, there are step increases, there are other adjustments that are part of this that drive that 2% base amount up to about a 4% increase on salaries. There's a couple of requests for new positions that have been prorated. So there's severance payments for potential retirement, and those are all salary-related costs that drive this up. Sitting at $160 right now on the typical home of $385,000. Please keep in mind that in order to reduce this tax rate, $160, to reduce it $38, it would take about $145,000 in cuts or increases in revenue. So every $145,000 cut or increase in revenue will reduce the tax rate by $38. Let me go now to some of the things that came out of the annual financial statement. The first item is the calculation of surplus, and this schedule divides the calculation into two parts. This part over here, I have the years running down here. I've tracked this since 1970. This is the opening balance on January 1st for this particular year. This is what was generated through operations, excess revenue, unspent appropriations, revenue that's not anticipated in the budget, overages on taxes or delinquent taxes. So this is the result of the operations of the excess that increases the opening balance. If we've used any surplus during the year, that has to be subtracted, and it leaves you with a year-end balance. And these are balances that will tie to the annual financial statement and then are subject to audit and confirmed by audit. So these are all audited numbers eventually that you'll see in these first four columns. Then I start another schedule here, and this was done at the request of several mayor and councils going back many years. They wanted the opening balance, and you can see that's the same as the audited opening balance. Then they wanted to know what are the deferred school taxes that we have on January 1st. Deferred school taxes are half of the school tax levy that we raise in advance, and those taxes, according to the state, have allowed us to include that as part of our fund balance and then use it as surplus in our municipal budget. This is a number subtracting out the deferred school taxes, leaves us with a municipal surplus, or some people called it the true surplus or the municipal surplus. That would be left after we subtract it out. I've always maintained this was a contingent liability. If we used any during the year, that of course would increase this, and then we'd have another municipal surplus balance moving further into the year. We would then add back any excess of operations to that and come up with yet another municipal surplus number. And then a couple of councils had me develop a couple of percentages, the percent of the budget used, deferred school taxes, the percentage of municipal surplus of deferred school taxes, and then whether there was a growth in deferred school taxes or a decline. Please remember that as the schools increase their tax levy or their taxes, since half of that is raised in advance, we get the benefit of the difference between the growth each year. So some of that does become surplus for the municipality. So coming down to the bottom of the page, and here we're looking at 2015, the results of 2015. We started off the year with 2.5 million. We generated back $1.4 million. We used 425. So our ending surplus balance of $3.4 million. If you take a look back, you can see that while we had, many years ago, we had a very generous surplus because we were not using the deferred school taxes in our budget. And that's what built up much of the municipal surplus at that time. And then in the mid-90s, they actually started using more surplus. Up here you can see they started using more surplus. And then in the mid-2000s, we used a lot of surplus, which was actually deferred school taxes, at that time. And it left us with a very low surplus balance in the later years. In fact, you can see we were down to $700,000 in working surplus during the year. But that has come back. The mayor and council have passed a surplus policy. You have a copy of that in your book, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So right now we're at this 3.4 million. And I did put in your red book the surplus policy, as well as a little calculation. I don't know if you want to go to that.
Here it is.
In the red book?
Correspondence?
Yes, it's C18.
Okay, so C20. If you want, but you don't have to.
No. No.
Alex, we had a column with initials for the mayor's name.
No.
To each of those.
They're up on the wall. They're up on the wall. So, if you look at this second page in the fund balance policy, I'm on C-18 in the red book, you'll see these boxes. What the mayor and council did was they designed a minimum balance of 5% and a target balance of 8%. And that was based on the annual tax levy, those percentages, 5% and 8%. So sort of a minimum and maximum where we wanted to be. Basically, the policy says once you hit the 8%, and you're over the 8%, then you can start to use surplus and return it to taxpayers as a revenue. Those numbers are meant to give us appropriate cash flow, so that we're certainly not in the position of having to borrow for operating expenses, which we did have to do during one of those years. We had to borrow a tax anticipation note. And to be able to have enough cash to pay our vendors, meet emergencies without doing emergency notes, do some investments, things of that nature. On the last page here, you'll see the apportionment of levies and rates. And I did a small tape on the right-hand side, and it shows that the levy of $46,399,841 times 5% gives you a number of $2,319,000. So that's the minimum 5% number. The max 8%, multiplying the levy again by 8%, would give you $3,711,000. So you can see we're fairly close to the max 8% number. And frankly, I would recommend that you leave your surplus at the $425,000 this year, that you're conservative in estimating your anticipated revenues, delinquent taxes. And you've heard me say if you increase that tax rate 2 to 3 points, I think you will meet your goal of increasing this year-end number better than the 3.7 million for the 8%. You'll be in a position to possibly return some of that in 2017 to the taxpayers. Moving along, the rest of the scale here. You can see our deferred school tax really is up in the $14 million area. Remember, that's half of the school tax levy. And then we have the calculations as they run across for the municipal surplus. But you can see the mayor and council over the last 4 years have been very conservative about how much they've placed into the budget for surplus. And they've held to this $425,000. All right, let's go to another item. This is this schedule shows you the percentages of collection of taxes, the year, and then what we used to calculate the reserve for uncollected tax and the difference. And the rule is that in order to calculate this reserve for uncollected tax figure, you cannot use more than what has actually been collected. You can use less. As you can see, that's what we did here. We had a practice of using less. You created a significant difference here. And then if you collected close to what you had collected in the year prior, then you were assured of some excess money coming back to your fund balance. So you would have, a little bit more tax collections that would come back to fund balance. The closer you move this number that you use in the calculation to what you actually collected, it means that the smaller the amount of the reserve for uncollected tax that you would need, and of course you would generate less coming back to surplus. So let's come down to the current years. And what you can see here is that the percentage differences are very small, going back again into the mid-90s. Prior to that, we had generated, the 1%, 2% numbers, these numbers here, which kept our surplus very healthy. But since that time, the mayor and council have kept it closer, which generates less going back to surplus, makes for a smaller reserve for uncollected tax number. We've been using the last couple of years 98.9%, a little bit less the year prior, and frankly, the mayor and council deserve some recognition for not pushing it all the way up to what we've actually collected. My compliments to the finance department, the tax collector. Our percentage in 2015, 99.26% is the highest percentage that I've seen since I've been here, going back through the 70s. So we did very well in terms of collection last year. And again, my recommendation is, and it's in the current calculations, that you hold at least to the 98.9%. You want to generate a little bit more, you'll drop this down. So that's the percentages that we have to work with this year. Again, that's mandated by the state. Not much growth in the assessments this year.
May I have a question for now?
Sure.
Because it went up this year, and it's the highest that it's ever been, has anything new been done, or is there a reason for it that you know of? That it's just good economy, people paying their bills?
Probably a combination of both. Kudos to the residents for paying your bills on time, and also to the finance department for sending out their delinquent notices and doing their collections. So.
I heard a rumor Luca Brasi was actually...
Yeah, but I have to say, in River Edge, look at these percentages. They're wonderful.
That's really
They're
good.
absolutely
That's
wonderful.
really good.
I mean, and that's, that's a compliment to the town itself that, we don't have a lot of delinquent taxpayers, that everybody, takes that responsibility seriously and pays their taxes on time. And it's certainly a help.
But it's interesting also just to note that even with those higher percentages, we're still talking a very, very large number in the budget as a placeholder. You're looking at almost 4 tax points that you're adding into the budget, which essentially comes out at the end anyway.
It has an impact. Assessments, not much growth really to speak of here. This is $1.4 billion. That's our value at this point, and I've noted the reassessments and the revaluations here, so you can account for the differences in the value itself, but, it's modest growth. So, it takes an awful lot of growth to, reduce the tax rate. I guess one other point I wanted to make here. This is our rating history, and I go back to, in '86, we've had this A1 rating from Moody's for many years. In 2008, Moody's refined their rating scale and raised us from A1 to AAA2. The federal government came down on them for having a rating scale that was closer to the private sector than the public, so they revised it. We moved from Moody's to Standard & Poor's, and we also received a AA stable there. And then we did have a downgrade from the AA2 to a AA3. I have the report, they looked at our reserves during those years, the surplus amount that we've been using in the budget. They looked at our deferred school taxes. They looked at many other factors too, and they gave us a slight downgrade. We went out to sale in 2013, and we maintained our AA stable from Standard & Poor's, who has a slightly different set of criteria than Moody's, or an emphasis on some of their criteria. So again, it's an excellent rating, and we've maintained that rating all these years. I think some of the things that we've seen in our finances here, the surplus coming back, the high percentage of tax collection, and some of the other things, the fiscal policies, the debt policy, the surplus policy, those are all positives, in terms of maintaining and a very quality level of rating here in River Edge. Let's see. Let the record reflect that Councilman Aquafina is now in the room.
Alan, why are the ratings at like weird intervals? It's not yearly, it's...
This is based on when we go out for sales of the long-term debt.
So if you don't go out...
If you don't go out, then they do a review in between, and I have surveys I have to fill out for them or provide them with information on an interim basis. But when we go out to the public for a sale, then they want a fresh rating. That's why she's been
Yeah, it just jumps. It's different.
Let's see, Mayor, at this time, I'm not sure whether you want to go back to capital, revenues, or any other topics that you want to address.
Correct me from our overall position, the way I'm looking at the numbers right now. We said $160 average increase, which is actually about 4.25 tax points. And so that means we're looking at increases over appropriations of $400,000?
Yes.
Which means then we're probably at a deficit on 200 on the revenue side, for a total tax levy increase of about 600,000. Plus or minus? That's...
Yes.
So to me, that's a tax levy increase of over 5%, and to me, I don't find that acceptable.
It's not acceptable.
We have work we're going to have to do, and if there's not much more on the revenue side,
well, there is.
Well, we have to look at the revenues and see how much those can be pushed. And then I think on the operating side, the two lines which I still think we have to go back and revisit in operating are engineering and legal. Because I still think those are probably significantly more than we can afford to allocate this year.
Are we still typically like 143,000 one way or the other swings the point?
Tax point, yeah.
So
$38 is
$143,000
$143,000
in revenue somewhere to make that point go away.
Yes.
That's fair.
So, we can poll the residents, but I'm assuming that, is anybody comfortable with $160 increase right now? Or do you think that that's something that the council and myself should be looking to reduce?
If they're speaking, I will. Yeah, I'd like to reduce that.
Okay.
I second.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Up to $160?
If you think that there's more room in here to cut something, and, you know, we're gonna $160 plus whatever the schools are.
Well, exactly. You're looking at probably close to $1,000 increase for everybody then.
I think that needs
And
to be
that's-
definitely worked on.
And it doesn't help us by saying we've increased our surplus by $500,000 when the taxes are going to go up another $1,000 for a homeowner. That's in the top 10% what I'm looking at. Anything raised, anything assessed more than $400,000 up to say $800,000, which is about 10% of the households in the town. Remember the way our property assessments are skewed, we have a low-end, skewed distribution with most houses probably within 300 to 4-something. There's probably 80 or 90% of the houses in that range. So 10% of the houses are going to get hit with the bigger increases again. Now, where are we on? What are the just on the appropriations? What are the two numbers for engineering and for legal right now? Right
There you
there.
are.
Yeah, so we're at,
Right now, we're at $182,000, we're at $32,000 increase on legal. And engineering
180.
is up $102,000 over last year, and $180,000.
and last year combined was around 220. So, it's almost
Oh,
double.
it was higher. 320.
220.
150 and 77.
150 and 77, isn't that?
327.
150 plus 77 is 220.
227.
220, yeah.
227.
And what did you say, 182 and 180?
Yep. So we're at almost, we're at 360, so we're almost double.
Isn't that one of those things, like if you could show the town all the engineering?
Well, I think the engineering, I don't have it with me, I'll have to bring it tomorrow night. I think that can be significantly reduced, because there's a lot of things in there which I think are being covered under capital, and there would still be plenty of left over to, and we can even itemize the projects that we've already talked about as being things we need to do this year. Like I know at the last meeting we talked about set aside some money to study the DPW building. We know that we have money, we have to do money for, we had some in there for traffic engineering, we had some in there for some of these other smaller projects. All the big capital projects are generally funded with the bonding, and some of the ones which I think have already been covered with the previous ones. So, but I don't have that exact number right now, but I'm thinking we can probably bring the engineering at least back to what it was last year. On the legal side, I still think there's some room to come down. I know Alan has more money in there again for the Riverdale situation. We have money in there for the 7-Eleven litigation. I think there's probably some room to almost bring that back to where it was last year also. And I think that's, as a start, where we need to go, because right now, the way I'm looking at it, we're at a plus $600,000. We got to get it down to like $200,000 to get to a tax point and a half, and even that's still going to be, $70 increase.
That's just on the Riverdale thing. If you look at it's C4 in the correspondence, you'll see that Mr. Campbell had a cost estimate for this year of $18,375. I think we have $35,000 in the budget
And
for
we
that.
also- And I believe we also
So-
have money left from last year,
We
too.
made that reduction from the finance committee. That is why
It was already reduced to the 18,375?
I believe so.
But didn't we also have 20,000 from the end of last year that we,
I think we
We
made those
encumbered?
two adjustments. I can show you the adjustments. I'm just going to try and get to the budget. So here we reduced the legal line. We We had amended Campbell's contract, we took out $21,000 on that one. And then we also reduced $20,000 for the copay for the 7-Eleven litigation. Those were the two major reductions in the legal line.
And what's driving that big number then?
Well, let's get to the, let's see if I can get to the information.
Because there should be little labor attorney costs. We've just gone through all our contracts.
Yeah. I know, I think there was, what did we leave, 10,000 for?
Tax appeals around 30,000.
For Jacoby, in case there were
I don't
issues.
remember. Yeah, I don't want to say, and
Can I get point of clarification? Are these legal and engineering project specific? Or
Yes and no.
Is this part of the retainer that we pay to the,
That's part of it. Like in the legal, if you go to the breakdown, you'll see in the legal line, Alan will have, this is Mr. Sarles' retainer, and then there's a lump sum for him to do various other work which he bills on a per hour basis during the year. Then you also have to include things like our tax appeal attorney, the labor attorney, special litigation, for the school and for several, so that's how it's made up. Engineering is basically the same way, but very often you'll see a lot of it is associated with some of the capital projects, and we're allowed to include the engineering costs as part of the bonding, so you don't have to actually have it in the operating. The only advantage sometimes is that you have the money ahead of time to accelerate a project. So you do want to keep some money in the operating line to do stuff more timely if you need to.
Okay, here's what I started off with, this 200-plus thousand legal budget. $10,000 for professional services related to some of the litigation. If we need an appraiser for tax appeals, if we get into disciplinary matters in the police department where we have to hire a judge or somebody, an arbitrator to come in and arbitrate those grievances, that could come out of professional services. For planning board, if there's extra assignments, legal assignments, we have $3,000. I have $10,000 for a COA planner, $5,000 for the master that's been appointed by the court, and $10,000 for the COA attorney. And then we have $3,000 for the zoning board attorney if they get additional assignments. Each board has a retainer for their legal attorney to attend the meetings, $4,500, and provide opinions, etc. $4,500 each there. Labor relations, $4,000 for any grievances. PBA negotiations, $15,000. Looks like we're on the road to a settlement here, so that number could come down. That's a number meant for arbitration. Personnel subcommittee, if the attorney has to appear before the personnel subcommittee, that's $1,000. Borough attorney for billings other than the retainer, $15,000, which might be slightly generous considering his very kind billing to us over the last couple of years. $20,000 is his retainer, though. That will be paid out. This is where I had $35,000 for the Riverdale litigation, which we reduced approximately $20,000. This is the litigation for 7-Eleven, which we reduced that in half. Tax appeal attorney, $35,000. That's a pretty good number, right, Gita? That's pretty much what we get billed each year for the tax appeals. And then I have $2,000 and $1,000 for the ability of the police chief and the superintendent of public works to immediately access the labor attorneys should a need arise without consulting to me. We do have a policy that any department head who's going to contact one of our attorneys is supposed to come through me. So I know what's going on, I know what the billings are, and we have some control over that. They can't speak directly to these attorneys, but in this case, if something comes up, they have the ability there. And the redevelopment attorney, $15,000, and that's how I came up with about 233, and right now we're down to, what did I say, about 180. Those are the numbers.
Mayor, I think we can take out the negotiations for arbitrator for the contract. I think at this point, I feel confident that we don't need that money there.
I guess the only question, we don't know how much time he's billed us for January.
No, Alan said that he put that money in if we
Oh,
go to
okay.
arbitration.
So
we're not going to go to arbitration.
We have money for,
Well, I would take out at least 10,000. I think 5 would cover, billings that we've had thus far. His billings are very reasonable, compared to other attorneys.
and the COA stuff, is that based on a new estimate from anybody?
No, that's my...
Because
my
as of now,
estimate.
we're pretty much where we're going to be. And I know we have, we will have money for the planner under other lines if the COA stuff does come up again. I don't know whether...
As I said, sometimes your number is as good as mine, I don't have I can't predict what's going to happen. And especially in this case, Mayor, you certainly have
Yeah, and I
much more expertise than I do in this particular area, so...
And I think the professional service, the appraisers, if we spent $2,000 last year for appraisers and stuff on tax appeals, I don't understand, I don't foresee that we would.
Depends what our final tax number is to the public.
Well, I think you should start making some of these judgment calls, and reduce the budget. If you can make motions to accept less than the appraiser, labor negotiations, COA, I think you should do that tonight, so we have a better feel for where we stand, as we move along.
And for the layman's purpose, can I ask you, how hard is it to get money to put back? So let's say...
It's very hard. It is hard, because you would have to transfer from other lines. But that being said, some of the other lines which we are almost, I'm going to call them statutory, but they're really not, things like the borough attorney line, there's always extra money in those lines too, so if stuff comes up, generally...
So you can get it back.
You can generally, there's enough, it's different if you get hit with, if we got hit with, say, a $50,000 bill for, say, 7-Eleven, that you can't anticipate, and that we wouldn't be able to cover.
That would be a judgment.
But on the flip side, then I'm saying, and I said this the last time, then I don't like the practice and the reality of putting this money aside, and it doesn't get spent this year, we're taxing people for it, and then carry it through to the next year and tax people again for it. So if we're not going to be able to say, well, we're going to offset the surplus number to account for this, then I don't see how you can tax people again just because we didn't do it one year and carry the next year. That's just my personal opinion. But I think professional services can certainly come down. I think you're correct about the labor, and if somebody wants to make some motions...
So, Alan, I say take all 15,000 out of TBA negotiations. Alan's saying take out 10. I'll go with that. I moved the item 1, it looks like it's 168, PBA negotiations. I move we reduce that from $15,000 to $5,000, a reduction of $10,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? Oh,
Let's go down the list.
okay.
Let's go to line, I feel like this is Jeopardy. Let's go to
What is it?
line 28 for 10,000, Alex. Can we, I'd make a motion to reduce that from 10,000 to 2,500.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And Mary, you were saying the COLA...
I think we probably could bring down the planner cost, certainly.
To what?
As a starter, I'd cut it in half. We probably can even go further after that.
So make a motion to reduce item 164 COLA planner from, it looks like 10,000 to 5,000.
I'd second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? I would keep the master at 5, but we don't know what he's going to bill
Okay.
us. The co-attorney, I don't know what we've been billed so far and what his estimate's been, so... But I still think that can come down because all the court action has been done. We're just
Up to
waiting
5?
we're waiting on them to accept the revised plan that the planner has submitted. I don't know how long our immunity's going to be.
Okay.
So whether we have any need for legal, but I would, we probably have to keep something. I don't know if the 10 is fair or not. I can't say right now. But I think it probably can be reduced. But I think we need to look at what
Not today.
Mr. Suarez originally anticipated, what we've been billed, and then we can base it on that. So I
So
would
we
hold
need
that
Alan
one.
to look into that?
Yeah, if you could just recollect that for us.
Can you tell me whether we anticipate briefs or appearances this year? If it's...
The only-
if
the-
what it's
and-
billing us for is reviewing a lot of
What-
the
well, what-
activity that's going on.
No, they're billing us to get us COA certified under the new rules. So we're not being sued or anything at this point. It's basically to, and we're working with the master to whether our revised COA plan will meet legal scrutiny. And that's, I guess that's what we're looking at.
$600? Is that the billing you got today? It was about $600. So I
I would say I would reduce it to
would... 3,000 there?
Yeah.
All right, I moved to item 164, COA attorney reduced from 10,000 to 3,000, reduction of $7,000.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we did the police, borough attorney, and although I would reluctantly do it, we probably should reduce then the redevelopment attorney, maybe for a few $1,000s also. That's the only one that has some.
Which one?
Redevelopment. I wouldn't go too far, but maybe 12.5 or
Make a
something.
motion to reduce 180 redevelopment attorney to $12,500.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. What was that now?
Question?
Yes.
It was mentioned that you reduced the 7-Eleven budget from 80 to 40, is that right?
40 to
40 to
20.
40 to 20? Okay, well, is there a reason for that? Or do you have a different feel?
Well, we know that the insurance companies, unless you want to speak.
Yeah, I can jump in on that. We put 40 in there for deductibles, and I was of the opinion that originally we were treating it as two separate cases because there were two cases filed, one by the owner and one by the tenant. Because they're going to be consolidated into one legal matter, I recommended that we reduce the 40,000 to 20, as I think it'll be legally treated as one matter and not two.
And there's a confidence that that's going forward?
The litigation's
Yeah.
going forward?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Well,
as of right now.
I mean, we've responded appropriately with all the filings that were needed to, and we have a good handle on, I don't know how much Mr. Solo has told us, if anything, to this point. Yes, Anthony?
Thanks.
This may be a political hot or a residential hot potato, so please excuse me. I'm not being knowledgeable of what currently is going on regarding 7-Eleven. Have any observations been made with regard to the place having been open for a period of time that would merit consideration for easing on the hours, or that's really...
I don't think we're at a...
I don't think any adjustments could be made.
I don't think we're at a point to comment on the position pro or against at this point.
Especially since it's an open legal matter.
Allen?
Can you talk a little bit about copay on this? I'm a little...
You mean the deductible?
Why are you putting money aside for the copay?
For deductible?
Yeah, it's
Well, because if we don't win and the insurance companies, suppose there were hypothetical damages, say $100,000, but our deductible is $20,000, we would have to pay that and the insurance company would pay the balance. So we have to come up with that money somehow. So it has to be appropriated.
This action is covered by your insurance?
It's covered, well, some of it is,
And some of it
isn't, and there's always deductibles when you have insurances also, so that's what you're planning for. And I don't know if that 20,000 is realistic or not, I don't know if that's a placeholder or is that our real deductible?
That's our, that's our real deductible.
That's a firm number?
For-
Or is that a percentage?
No, I believe it's, Alan can answer it better, but I think it's a firm number, right, the 20,000?
Yeah, that's a fair,
Yeah.
hard number.
Yeah.
And then there's a percentage that goes beyond it. And there's 20% of 250,000 should the case
Yeah, but I don't,
go to that limit. But,
And if there was something like a, I guess we don't know how it would play out, is if we were responsible for legal fees or something like that, is that charged against the deductible, or is that something else we'd have to do?
I think the first $20,000 goes to the representation, by the jail. So we share those costs on the representation. But
So-
this is not a case, other than the shifting of legal fees, which we probably don't expect, this is not a case that is about monetary damages.
No.
This is a case, you know...
Well, it isn't the case that we would have to pay their legal fee.
Right,
Yes.
I'm saying other than
Yes.
fee shifting, right?
Do premiums go up after you utilize something like this?
Usually, Alan can speak to it, because we're in the GIF, right? I think we're probably better insulated
The
than...
advantage of being in a pooled situation at the local level with 38 towns,
Oh, okay.
and with our excess carrier, over 500 of the towns are involved with the excess, it's spread out so that, you know, the impact is very small, if anything. If you're chronic,
Right.
you know, we've seen some towns, unlike River Edge, where the governing body members are suing each other, and things are out of control with employment practice liability, then there is the potential for additional assessments.
Just getting the blood flowing on.
I was going to ask you to please make that bigger, Alan, because even with my glasses, I can't see.
We got to be
Bring a jacket.
It said wear a sweater, actually, which I did.
Alan, would you maximize that?
That was in addition to your jacket.
Yeah, I know.
Maximize
That's
that
in
at
the
the
card.
top.
You want
Yeah,
me to hit this one?
Yeah, it's the maximize button.
Yes, now, this is the engineering. Let's just start on the right side, Alan.
Yeah, so, this is the retainer for Rob Costa, Costa Engineering, $5,000 for the current, I guess, prior years here. I don't know, the way this was Xerox. I don't have the years here. But this is the retainer for Costa Engineering. So attendance at meetings, meeting with residents, very small assignments, that's all taken care of with the retainer. This is the category, the other general grouping, which is kind of detailed all over here. This is sort of just trying to brainstorm as to what we might need during the year on a project basis. And again, on some of these, your estimate is as good as mine.
Well, let's just go through them one by one. Like now, you start with Fifth Avenue section, whatever one that is. They're all paid for. We've designed every section right now. So I don't know why we need $15,000 for any more with regard to Fifth Avenue. I guess we have to pay for some of the inspection work, but again, that should be covered under the bond.
Well, I think this also anticipates work on applications. So if you have Fifth Avenue section, you see I left a blank here, if there's section 4, section 5, if there's discretion, and this stands for discretionary grant, so if you're going to do a section 4 and a discretionary grant, there's going to be some engineering costs in doing those estimates.
Well, we can go one by one, but we
Well, how
know...
much should we reduce that by now?
It depends on if we get a grant and when we get it. So the question is, usually, I don't know. I would not allocate $15,000 for a project we don't know we're going to...
Drop it by 10?
Mayor, I would say this about Fifth Avenue. We have section 3, which should bring us right to where we
Yes.
completed the roadway.
Mhm.
So the only question for the council is, are we going to go, well, there's two questions here. One, would we go for Fifth Avenue curbs, sidewalks, say from Midland Avenue to
But
the high school?
if we do, that would be a DOT grant,
Right.
and
Well, that's
those
what-
costs would be incorporated into the bonding when we go to bond for it, if we got awarded the project.
Not for the application.
Well, the applications are $1,000. I mean, less than $1,000 to do the actual
Well, Mr.
application.
Costa, with all due respect to Mr. Costa, and he should speak to this himself,
It should...
while it's just an engineering estimate, he seems to do a lot more work to get ready for the eventual award. So there's more design work that goes in on these applications than you or I might think. So that's what I'm trying to prepare for here.
I would not agree
But-
on a DOT application. All they need to do is generate quantities. It's a guy with a wheel telling you how many linear foot of curbs, how many linear foot of sidewalk, and calculating how much asphalt you need to put down. That's really what a DOT application
You
is.
cut that in
So
half, like,
there-
do you recommend we...
I'd bring it down to 1,500. That's what I would
So
say, to
there
do
is
an actual
that
application.
application. And then if the council wants to proceed with additional curb, sidewalk, and driveway apron for the rest of Fifth Avenue to proceeding north to Midland Avenue, that would be, continuous applications for that type of roadway. So that's Fifth Avenue.
But
That's how
I
see
think
it.
if we're looking at DOT, we know we're 99% sure we're going to get $149,000 a year for somewhere. And we know based on history, we get about a block. So, it's not, you get that once a year, yes.
If I could, Mayor, make a motion to reduce the engineering for Fifth Avenue section, whatever, from 15,000 to 2,500.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
DOT sidewalk, and this is the grant we've gotten, correct?
Yes, and we have an ordinance on that. It's just meant that supplemental funding, if we get, the engineering firm that comes in, we don't have enough in that ordinance to be able to provide additional engineering work if necessary.
But so we can come back to that. Cherry Blossom, we decided we're not going to spend
Correct.
$7,000 on that, I believe. The traffic map, I don't know whether it's something that was still under
I thought we had decided to
taking that out, right?
Okay, so when we take the Cherry Blossom
Fire-
traffic
it's not
map to
listed.
zero,
It's not
would you, that make sense?
Yes, and it becomes, because basically what's going to happen is we're going to still have a pot
Yeah.
of money, and we can
Yeah.
assign projects if we decide to.
So move to take Cherry Blossom Park 7,000, traffic map
Yeah, the other one should
2,000,
come up.
and remove them to zero.
And the library generator, which is, we said we
Let's see
would.
which ones we...
And the library generator 4,000 to zero.
Okay, there's a second on those stories.
Wait, Mayor, if I may, I'm just trying to check to see what we've done already in committee. We have that on the log here. We did the storm, we did the generator, we did no grant consultant, we did line 100 for tap and safe streets, and we did the traffic map and the secure
Okay.
region. Right, that's just a quick review. All right, I apologize, what are we looking at now?
We're looking at reducing Cherry Blossom Park from 7 to 0, traffic map from...
Which Alan said, I think we already did.
Traffic map has been done already.
And what about, in the library generator, you said it's been done?
4,000 was done here. What's it there? I can't, yeah.
4,000.
Yeah, it was done here.
Okay,
So we've done everything with Cherry Blossom?
yep.
Of the things, so reduce Cherry Blossom Park from 7 to 0,
Okay.
so moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Fire company number 2, we still have more money we have to pay for that?
The library generator...
No, for the generator for fire company 2.
The library generator, did you
Yes.
decide not to...
I thought you said,
Well, we
I thought you said you took that out already.
Took it out of the capitals. That didn't hit the engineering. Yeah.
And the Legion
I
too.
think we took out the 2,000 for the fire company number 2.
Oh, not the library one?
No, not the
Oh,
library.
so we could take the library.
Well, I'm looking at, Alan, look at line number 24, I believe.
Yeah, that was $4,000 for traffic map and Legion.
Yeah. So that's...
Line 23.
23 was, I believe, not through, yes, that's 4,000 that came out for the library.
So we've already done that.
So that's already happened. Okay.
Please let the record reflect that Councilwoman Murphy is now in the room.
I would leave the tax map in because it hasn't been updated, but that's just a minor amount to keep in. The code planner, we already had code planner on the other.
Yeah.
So I think that can come out from here.
Move to reduce Coldwood Planner to 0 from 5,000.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Outfalls, I think we have to keep, that's a stormwater requirement. You said we took the Legion out. Grove Street, I think that's way more than we would ever need for engineering, for anything that's going to be done there this calendar year.
You asked me at the last meeting to reappropriate the Grove Street money to Hackensack Avenue.
Yes, but you have 15,000 in the next line for that too. So.
But I'm saying the Grove Street, then you wouldn't need that.
Correct, yes. But I'm looking at both of them together
Oh.
because even to do the commuter lot on Hackensack Avenue, it shouldn't cost 15,000 engineering to do a project which is going to cost us 20,000 to do. So, I would say we could take Grove Street down, and then if we wanted to reduce the other one, I'd bring it to 5 for now, even though I don't think you would need 5, but that might be a comfortable number just to put it in.
I'd make the motion to remove the 5,000 for Grove Street and the commuter lot North Hackensack from 15,000 to 5,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Riverside Road, that's our standard fee for the Riverside Cooperative, Alan?
Yes, that would be for the...
Not doing micro resurfacing.
Okay, would it still be the same if we don't do the micro? Is it based on,
No, micro we're not doing this year, so that probably could come out. The only thing is, though, I will need probably, well, that can come out of the ordinance, the inspection work for Costa.
okay.
So the micro could, I would take the micro out.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Section 2, isn't that finished?
Yes, that could be taken out because that's now been submitted for reimbursement.
Okay.
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? CDBG ramps, that's completed also, is it not? The county? Or is that, CDBG, but that is completed.
That's the ramp work that we had done. Enid, have we gotten a final bill, though, from Costa on that one yet?
CDBG?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I haven't seen the final.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether we have a final bill on that one.
And aren't we supposed to get reimbursed? Oh, no, it's the county one, I'm sorry.
For
That's
the,
different.
yeah, for the construction,
Yes,
not the engineering.
so we'll have to leave that for now, I guess. Howland, Section 7, that's,
Well, that's an application,
That's still
discretionary
pending.
application. We try and finish Howland. Again, whatever you want to leave in there, if you think we could try for another discretionary application on that one.
What do you want to do?
we can come back to it.
Yeah. Okay.
At the community center, there's no need to appropriate money under this line item, because we said that would be paid for from the
Donation.
trust account.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. So the community center goes to 0.
Yep. KBG lights should go to 0. We've paid through all that through the bonds already. There should be no reason for us to have to pay any more
So
for
moved.
operating.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ramp, we don't know what's wrong with that. Oxford Phase 2, again,
This would be an application.
It's an application.
But what we talked about the last time was doing an application for the ramp out in front of Borough Hall instead of really this one.
So we don't need 15,000 for the two of them.
No, but you need somebody,
So-
to do the engineering design if necessary, or do some engineering work, on
Well, if we're going
that. Or-
to lean towards the ramp, which would be a less expensive project, I think we'd be okay with the 5. And we could probably take out the 10 for Oxford.
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? HVAC
What's the
library,
next one? Yeah.
do we need to spend any more money on that, Peter?
No.
Okay. That's only if we go to design, which we don't need to. We'll take it out?
Try, if we go ahead with the idea of connecting the library with the new community center, then when we do the improvements, we could back that into the same project.
Yeah.
Then it becomes one project.
And if it becomes an issue, we'll have to find the money.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. Your motion?
I'll move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And, all right, TAP grant, Safe Streets, again, those are, those should be in the bonds.
Well, we had 2 ordinances on those, and frankly, I would not anticipate those getting underway until possible. The earliest might be the fall. By the time we go through a competitive process to hire these engineers and make decisions there, so, at that time, we can transfer funds November and December along lines, not before. So then that opportunity would be there if we need some additional funds. So these could come.
Okay.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good.
So we took out tap and safe, or just tap?
No, both.
Both.
Okay.
Both hit.
Wanted to make sure. I thought it was both,
It's the
but...
Grim Reaper.
You guys are on fire.
Good job.
Mr. Costa's...
Well-oiled machine.
Yeah, Mr. Costa will have to be, there's still going to be plenty of money in that budget for...
Oh, yeah. Stephanie?
Okay.
The legal budget is back to where it was last year.
Councilwoman Davis
So,
does not have a book.
what do
She
we,
sees an assistant
so we-
budget extra, and it's not as updated. So if we could either get her a book or update this one. This is only on the budget, but we'll meet again tomorrow night, and we'll meet next week.
But what was the reduction in the legal? Just today?
The only thing I would need, I don't have any.
Okay. So, 9, 10, 11, so we're down 131,500 tonight?
It's almost attached. So this particular item was C4.
Yeah, I don't have any of that. I just wanted-
We're at 122 still. Still that way. At least we made some progress. So Alan, yes, so Alan, if we could just wrap the budget stuff up. For tomorrow night, I guess, then we need to look at where you are with revenues. Yeah, I guess I think that's the next step.
Miscellaneous revenues, you'll see conservative position, and you'll do what you...
And we may, I don't know how many we're going to have tomorrow night, but we may have to go back to look at the,
It was an interesting adjective you used there, Alan.
I missed it.
This conservative position, he was qualifying the position.
Oh, yeah. It is conservative, we know that.
We know that, we're grateful for that.
But we're going to have to look at the capital again.
Yeah, we have the capital is still open.
Right. If there's nothing else, can we adjourn? Oh, so, just so we're meeting again tomorrow night? 6 o'clock?
I won't be.
No?
I won't be here either.
Are you not sure?
We don't have
We're in a forum then.
Wait, I can be here, you can be here? Can you be here?
No, tomorrow.
No.
Tomorrow.
You want this?
But I got a list that nobody else
Here, right?
We're meeting Saturday also.
Yeah.
We're meeting tomorrow.
Yes.
Fine. So, no, we're not meeting tomorrow.
No, it was all Monday.
We're not meeting tomorrow, we don't have a
We
quorum.
scheduled tomorrow, we thought we had a quorum, yeah.
Only Al.
I know you had said that, but
We don't make
tomorrow.
quorum. So we're not meeting tomorrow.
less council people.
Saturday, no, we don't have a quorum. We only have Al, Ed, and I.
Mary,
Saturday, yes.
You were up anyway.